What's up guys, and welcome back to my Pokemon Sun and Moon coverage video. And today I'm going to be showing you guys, or talking to you guys, about a theory I come up with myself. It's not sort of, I wouldn't say it's a theory almost, because there's not much evidence towards it. It's not like there's been hints at it or something, but it's something that I thought about, and I thought, well, this would be really cool if this actually happened. So it's about Cyrus. You guys remember Cyrus from Diamond, Pearl and Platinum, Generation 4, Sinnoh region, etc. He was there, and with Team Galactic he wanted to basically, well, depending on the version, he either wanted to create a new universe, or he wanted to use the distortion, or it was sort of the same thing for Platinum as well, wasn't it? It was like create a new universe, but then he ended up in the distortion world. But before we actually go into the deep depths of the theory, we need to talk a little bit about Delta Theory, which if you guys saw the video I put out, must have been over a year ago now, concerning Delta Theory, basically going over all the details. It's on my channel if you guys want to find it, just search Delta Theory. But basically Delta Theory says that the Pokemon universe is now two Pokemon universes, one being the first 5 generations, Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, Ruby, Sapphire, Diamond, Pearl, Black, White, Black to White 2, and that's it. Just that's the first universe there, Generation 1 to 5. And Generation 6 starts us off in a new universe, a Mega Universe, a universe in which 3,000 years ago there was a war between Kalos and a neighbouring region in which the ultimate weapon was created and released infinity energy into the atmosphere, into the world. It's a bit iffy on the details, but it's a world where Megas exist, whereas our first universe was a world where Megas did not exist because this energy was not around. That's the basic thing. So basically in this universe we just have X and Y and Auras. Auras came before X and Y. We find out from, obviously we have Mr. Bonding being created in Auras, so we know it's before X and Y. So that's the Delta Theory, that's the Mega Universe Theory, etc, etc, etc. So let's talk more about the original Generation 4 games and how Cyrus interlinks into this little theory here. So either, depending on the games, there was a different sort of outcome of events. In Diamond and Pearl, he basically wants to create a new dimension. He even says, with this red chain I will open the portal to another dimension. That's what he says there. Either to go to this dimension and make this world his own and create it, or just to destroy the world. And he eventually goes on to say something like, the time or the space leaking from here will destroy this world, sort of thing, something along those lines. In Platinum instead, he obviously opens the portal to the distortion world. Giratina comes out and grabs him and takes him in, and at the end, after you battle him, he simply just walks off, and it's assumed he is somewhere in the distortion world walking about, and he still vows to create a world without spirit. So he just carries on walking around the distortion world. We can assume maybe Giratina kills him, and we never actually see his fate, but you guys get the idea there. So that's what happens in Platinum. So it's a bit different depending on the versions. In which one, in terms of which one's canon, it's a bit different. You can't. There's never really any basis on which one's canon, because you'd assume for something like Emerald, oh yeah, Emerald must be canon because it has both Magma and Aqua, and they're both involved, and that seems to have the best outcome, I guess. Whereas Ruby and Sapphire is just like one team doing it, and then it doesn't really work along those lines there. At least in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. In terms of whether Diamond, Pearl or Platinum is canon, I don't know. But we can assume either of the three can be. Diamond and Pearl are the same thing, so it's either Diamond and Pearl or Platinum can both be canon depending on what you want to see. So now we'll talk about the Delta Theory, or the Delta episode. In the Delta episode, when we're talking about the meteor, the meteor is coming down, it's going to destroy the world, so the scientists at Moss Deep Space Center decide they're going to use this rocket filled with infinity energy, shoot at the meteor, and it will transport the meteor to another dimension. Exactly as Cyrus said earlier, saying he's going to open a portal to another dimension. Dimension is a bit of a weird and an iffy word to use, because dimension doesn't really explain. We have 3 dimensions in our world. We have left, right, we can go left, right, up and down basically, and there's also the other dimension of time. So dimension in that sense means like a way to measure things, almost a place for things to exist in, whereas dimension in this sense means like a whole other world, another universe basically. We have to assume that's what it means. Dimension could mean obviously the distortion world, which is technically a dimension. It's sort of like the antimatter of the normal world. However, I believe it's to another dimension, to like another universe that Cyrus can make his own. So hopefully you guys see where I'm going with this. what if we have these two universes here? We have the normal universe and the Mega Universe. Cyrus exists here in the normal universe. What if, in Diamond and Pearl, when he actually goes into this other dimension, which he gets sucked into in the end, what if this dimension ends up putting him out in the Mega Universe? You know, because he doesn't actually, it says another dimension. It didn't say a new dimension. I mean, I think actually it is implied that Dialga is making him a new dimension, but this, you know, saying the red chain will open a portal to another dimension, it's a bit different. However, because obviously he gets sucked in, the universe, the dimension never actually gets fully made. He could simply be thrown out into the void, basically, of space and time, and he could end up being sucked into another dimension somewhere. It's possible. But we'll imagine here for a second, somehow it's figured out that Cyrus goes in here and pops out in the Mega Universe, which is the same universe as what we can assume Sun and Moon are going to be in, because as long as they have Mega Evolutions, they will be located in the Mega Universe. And this would also be the universe that the Diamond and Pearl remakes would be located in, because we are technically due Diamond and Pearl remakes in Generation 7, which we can assume Sun and Moon are in. Because we got Generation 1 remakes in Gen 3, Generation 2 remakes in Gen 4, Gen 5 was skipping a gen, we didn't get any Generation remakes at all. Then Generation 6, we had the Gen 3 remakes, so now we're in Generation 7, we assume we're not going to skip another generation because there were 2 where we had remakes, 1 without, you would assume maybe 2 without remakes again. So this Generation 7 would be the generation in which we are expecting Generation 4 remakes, so we might have Sun and Moon, and then Diamond and Pearl remakes, and then maybe a sequel to Sun and Moon, or maybe not, depending on how they decide to do it. So it would make sense to have Diamond and Pearl remakes in Generation 7, which is really why I bring Cyrus up, since it's possible that, you know, he could link to that story there. How could he link in? This is what I want to look at here, the possibility of how Cyrus could link in to this new universe basically he gets sucked into. There are a few ways, or a few ideas I thought of. The first one would be he gets sucked into this new universe, he appears in Sinnoh. It would make sense for him to be in Sinnoh since it's at the same location in 2 worlds. But he appears in the remakes, so the whatever you want to call them, Temporal Diamond and Spatial Pearl, something along those lines. You know, he appears in his Diamond Pearl remakes, notices that it's a new universe, new dimension, and he decides, right, I'm going to make this dimension my own, and, you know, tries again basically. And this way he could reform Team Galactic, or make Team Galactic himself. You know, it wouldn't be reformed because they wouldn't exist in the world yet. He would band together Team Galactic, and it would almost be like starting again, except obviously he has this knowledge of the other universe. And that would maybe be the big reveal at the end of the game, when you foil his plans, you know, and defeat him, because obviously, because of the Mega Universe, there might be other different changes. It might be a possibility that there might be, you know, Mega Dialga and Mega Palkia, something along those lines. I'm throwing it out there, guys, but I don't expect it to happen. But there could be something like that, which he then decides to harness and take advantage of. So then, at the end of the game, when you foil his plans, he's being taken away by authorities, or just running. You know, he could say something along the lines of defeated twice in 2 different universes, or something. That would be like the big bomb drop, and people were like, wait, this isn't like, you know, because it might, at that point it could be, you know, you would have no idea that it would be the same Cyrus, because obviously we had these 2, you know, these Oras remakes, and the heads of the teams are the same. We have Maxi and Archie. Obviously they might look a bit different, but they are, you know, technically the same people. If they did look at it, I mean, Maxi does look the same in both games, so we assume it's the same sort of, you know, it's a different universe. We assume it's going to be the same character basically. However, if Cyrus was then to drop this bomb and be like, just, you know, beaten in 2 universes, people would then be like, wait, holy fuck, you know, something like, you know, Cyrus went into the dimension and came out here. Boom, mind blown. You know, you guys get the idea there, and that would be the big drop there. Another idea I had was, instead of him reforming Team Galactic, he comes into this universe, but he's broken, he gives up, sort of thing, and he might either be like an after-game antagonist, so you beat. It wouldn't be Team Galactic, I would not assume, in the Diamond Pearl remix. It would be a different team this time, doing something. I don't know what they would be doing, but then in the after game, you might witness Cyrus coming out. What if when you do the main game for this Diamond Pearl remake, say, you know, we could assume we're going to go to Spear Pillar again, because it was exactly the same for the Ruby Sapphire remix. We go to Spear Pillar, we do whatever it is the evil team are doing, and then maybe once they're defeated and that portal closes or whatever they opened, Cyrus gets spat out, and it would be like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? you know, sort of, or like as an after credit sort of like sneak peek, he gets thrown out, and then it'll be a little after game sort of storyline. It'll be Cyrus sort of like, you know, maybe going on a rampage or something along those lines, and you have to stop Cyrus there. Or he could be like a random character you just meet along the way, similar to how you see Cyrus along the way in Platinum, you know, just sort of bits and pieces along the story. He could be this mysterious character, maybe hooded, you know, you would not necessarily know who he is to start off, and you get revealed towards the end. But you guys get the idea there. So some sort of like miscellaneous character. He's not related to the antagonist, but he is in the game, and it would get, you know, revealed like that. Those are my 2 ideas for the Diamond Pearl remix. I also had 2 ideas for Sun and Moon themselves. He could appear in Sun and Moon as an antagonist. If we assume we're not going to necessarily get Diamond Pearl remix, we could say, oh yeah, you know, basically Sun and Moon is going to be sort of, you know, he's going to come out in the Sun and Moon region rather than in Sinnoh or the equivalent of Sinnoh or something along those lines. He might appear there, and similar to the first one, he might make an evil team. Obviously they wouldn't be called Team Galactic because that would be far too obvious and it would be pretty boring. And again, it might be only revealed towards the end of the game it's actually Cyrus, and even then you might think, oh, it's just Cyrus, you know. But even then, at the end of the game, it would be like defeated twice in 2 different dimensions, etc. So you might, you know, then, because obviously the Sun and the Moon, they are related to galaxies almost, you know, related to space at least. We have galaxies, stars, such as Sun, you know, moons, planets, etc. So it could link into his story along those lines. It would be related at least. Or the other idea is similar to the second one for Diamond and Pearl, which would be he's a random character, or, you know, just sort of a secondary antagonist for the after game. Or we can assume if we have Sun and Moon and Diamond and Pearl occurs afterwards, we could have the same of these. We could have Cyrus pop up in Sun and Moon somewhere, and then if Diamond and Pearl remix are, you know, situated after Sun and Moon, we could have him pop in Sun and Moon, and then we'll see him in the remix and become the antagonist there. There are so many possibilities to this, guys. He might not even turn up at all. Obviously, it's just a theory. It's just an idea. I think it'd be really cool to link it like that, just to sort of show they're 2 separately linked, you know, universes, but they are linked in ways. Because I think they'll just really bolster the theory, because they seem to be putting a lot into it. It's not like they just brushed over the fact that Mega Evolutions don't exist at all. They specifically mentioned in the Delta episode there are 2 universes now, 1 Mega Evolutions, 1 will not, and I think Cyrus would be a brilliant way to link them too. What I want to know, guys, is what do you think about this? Do you think Cyrus might turn up? Do you want to see him turn up? You know, would that be a really cool thing to see in either of the games? You know, would that be cool to see, or would you think I'm crazy for even having this idea? Let me know your thoughts about this theory down below in the comment section, guys. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, but I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.